Hello and thanks for staying with us. Welcome to Political Platform on Repower FM and African Independent Television AIT. My name is Amechi Anapwe. Now, questions over transparency, accountability, and integrity of public institutions have again come to the fore following the controversy surrounding the operations of a fake presidential intervention promotion council in Nigeria. The development has sparked widespread concerns about how an organization without legal backing operated under the guise of presidential authority, raising fresh questions about institutional oversight, regulatory enforcement, and the ease with which fraudulent entities can exploit the names of government offices to mislead the public and unsuspecting investors, with huge allegation of corruption being demanded for and collected right inside the Asoro Presidential Villa, Abuja. Beyond the immediate controversy, analysts say the incident highlights deeper governance challenges, including the need for stronger verification systems, greater interagency coordination, and more effective safeguards to indeed deal with the system. Now, beyond the immediate controversy, analysts said incidents highlights deeper governance challenges, including the need for stronger verification systems, greater interagency coordination, and more effective safeguards to protect the credibility of public institutions. So, what does this controversy reveal about the state of Nigeria's institutional integrity? Where did the system fail, and what reforms are needed to prevent similar incidents? Yes, how do we avert a recurrence in the future? How can government agencies strengthen oversight, improve public trust, and ensure that only duly authorized bodies operate in the name of the presidency? Recall a former secretary to the government of the Federation asked, who is the presidency? That question seems unanswered up till today, especially against the backdrop of the controversy again involving the presidency over the operation of an illegal entity. It's issue of integrity, and like I said earlier, we must use this opportunity to strengthen our institutions, impute integrity into it to stand the test of time. Our guest today will join us to examine these critical issues and discuss the steps required to build stronger institutions capable of preventing fraud, protecting investors, and reinforcing confidence in governance. Soji Apampa is the founder and executive director of the Convention in Business Integrity in Nigeria. Apampa has served as a senior advisor to the UN Global Compact on the 10th principle, that's anti-corruption, and consultant to the interagency tax team of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He's also the founder of the Integrity Organization. We'll be talking integrity today. An organization without integrity, a public service without integrity raises credible questions of credibility. We will also weigh in on the state of the nation. The Nigerian Army on Monday concluded a series of activities to mark the 2026 Army Day celebration in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Wayde Shuaibu spoke on efforts by the Army in protecting Nigeria's territorial integrity. We'll weigh in on that. As usual, I'm joined by my colleagues as panelists to offer perspectives and analyze these burning national issues. Uju Eje, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning to our viewers and listeners.
Adebayo Bodori is also on board today.
Good morning to our listeners and viewers.
And welcome for the first time, Oyedia Urun, thank you so much and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Amechi.
So we'll get to see more of our face in the days and weeks to come. Let's start with this video of excerpts from the Nigerian Army Day celebrations that held in Port Harcourt, River State. After it, we'll take a look at this anti-insurgency fight and how Nigeria can recover its territory.
I would say that the Nigerian Army have fared significantly very well under the strategic direction of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu, and he has demonstrated strong political will in providing the enabling environment for the Army to succeed. Since coming on board, the Nigerian Army has neutralized high-profile targets in collaboration with some of our partners, specifically the United States, several combat enablers that add value to the operations we have conducted. Now, these equipments range from armored personnel carriers, mine-resistant vehicles, and different surveillance unarmed UAVs. In preparing our officers for this, we have sent them to various countries for proper training so that they can be proficient in the use of these equipments.
For our radio listeners, the sound you just heard was the humming of a helicopter as the Army demonstrates a rescue operation at the grand finale of the Army Day celebration in Port Harcourt, River State. A helicopter carrying Army troops descending, and in a demonstration of their combat capabilities, staged a rescue of some hostages. Nigerian security situation, the Army displaying its might, thanking the President for all the support and saying with the support of citizens, this insurgency, this banditry, this terrorism will be a thing of the past.
Well, you know that the Army at a point in the last 2 years decided to adopt different approaches from what it was in the past, or what they had been using in the past in, of course, in their operations and activities. That was when they came in with the kinetic and non-kinetic approach. You know, non-kinetic because in the course of the activities, they had often been accused of, having many civilian casualties, and they felt that, well, it was time to remove that narrative and, of course, make the Army more approachable and instead of one that is so feared that people, even when they have information, cannot come close to them because they are so afraid. So they try to make themselves friendly. They also adopted the approach of enlightening the citizens on their activities, enlightening them on how the Army operates, so that, that tension that is often created is greatly reduced. I think that they're making inroads. They are succeeding in carrying the citizens along. So now they have better intel, they have better information. It's just that things have really gotten so bad that they can't finish the fight overnight. But I think that there's better progress than before, and people, can relate with them better. Even the media finds it easier to relate with them. You find that information comes out from the military, unlike before, that is like a roadblock. You can't get anything out. They're making progress from what I see.
But that progress must be sustained.
Yeah, it has to be sustained because across Nigeria, the criminal-minded people have unsettled peace, and peace needs to be restored. And the military is doing their best, but I think they should up the game. They will earn the confidence of the people when they dislodge the bandits, the insurgents, and Nigeria can freely travel on the road. Because it's not everybody that can afford the cost of airfare. And at that time, when the confidence is built, the trust deficit will also disappear. If you look back into history, if you look at the aftermath of the Civil War, when the Civil War has ended, on both sides, you will see the way and manner Nigerians welcome those who fought the battle. As a young boy growing up in Kano then, if any soldier is passing, you see people clapping for them. You know, when they enter a restaurant to eat, they just go away, don't pay. They enter public transport, they don't collect money from them, they don't collect fare from them. That is the type of thing that I think they should try as much as possible to do, so that the budgetary allocations have been complained that it's not enough, but the few ones that have been released, when they spend it on conference centers, hotels, it tells a lot, because it ought to be spent on equipment that will aid intelligence gathering, that will aid the capacity, capability, and competence of the men and women who are. But when you see competition between the various arms of the military, or in building conference center, in building hotels, I think, for me, it's a misplaced priority.
Oyedia, sometimes when I take a look at our society, I begin to show empathy because, as it were, the primary purpose of government, based on our constitutional provision, is security and welfare. Now, both are tied together. If the welfare is high, it lessens the burden on insecurity. But where the welfare is inexistent, you see situations where, as government is recruiting, as security agencies are recruiting, the bandits, terrorists, unknown government, 419ers are also recruiting, Yahoo are recruiting, because not necessarily or principally about the fact that poverty is high in the land, but it gives that citizens that vulnerability to consider other options. When government fails to provide security and provide welfare, then the responsibility on the military becomes even bigger than it should be. It should be bigger than should confront it, as it were.
Well, Amici, I cannot agree less with you with what you said. You know, the morale of the military is very important at this time, especially in the time when we are fighting this heavy issue of insecurity in the country. Amici, take for instance, sometimes when you drive around the FCT where we are in, you see some of these military persons on the road. You look at the way they address, first of all, and the way they also greet you. Oh, mama, anything for the boys.
You mean the police?
Both the police, sometimes the military as well, because I live in those areas, so I meet most of them on a daily basis. It's a bit frustrating when you see military that these are people we before we don't even get to see them on the road, but we see them on the roads now, and the way they greet, they want handout from some persons on the road is a bit discouraging. I think that's one aspect that the government has to do more. Yes, these funds have been released to them, but we need to also ensure that it doesn't end there. But we need to ensure that it gets to the people who are supposed to get these morals that are being given to them. Then the issue of probing the military, sometimes the lawmakers will say
it came up in the National Assembly.
Yes, it came up in the National Assembly some time ago.
That the probe should go on.
Exactly. Yes, some lawmakers, maybe it's the way it was put and by the person who actually put it out there. The probing of the military is not because we want to lower their morale. It's also to show accountability. Now, the military in Nigeria, let me say security sector, for instance, they are are the ones that have the largest
That's
chunk.
probe of their finances.
Exactly. They have the largest chunk of the budget. So if these monies are going to them, like Bodori just said, yes, the monies may not be enough, but the little ones that have been given to you, how much have you, used this money? Has it been judiciously used to ensure that Nigerians are safe? So it's not inciting anybody, but the military has to do more. Yes, the event that have taken place, it may be ceremonial, but let's go beyond the ceremony. Let's ensure that every Nigerian is safe. I traveled just yesterday, and I miss the times when I go on the road. I used to like road trips, but now I don't think I can even think about it.
On that issue of a probe of the finances of the military, Adams Oshiomhole appeared to be the lone voice, because when he put the proposal in the plenary in Senate, he didn't get much support. It was almost shut down by the entire Senate, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, because the National Assembly is a dicey situation, because of course there was a press release much later from the leadership of the National Assembly saying that this is not the right time to think about probing the military. But there's never a right time, really, because this is the right time, because this is when so much funds has gone to this sector, and we barely see. Yes, we've seen results, but I think more has to be done.
Amici, you also have to understand that you're talking about men in high places, men who are always scared of so many things, and they depend on these officers for their own personal security, whether officially or unofficially. They make use of them. So they wouldn't want to do anything that would annoy them, anything that would upset them or upset the arrangement. So they have to tread carefully because of that singular purpose of ensuring their own security. But you see, like Oyedia said, they have the largest chunk of the annual budget every year. And no matter what, I think that what is being reflected, particularly on the lower ranks, the rank and file, like they refer to them, does not really show the huge amounts that is given to the military. And on the other hand, you see allegations of top military officers building mansions, real mansions all over Abuja and other parts of the country. They deserve to live in mansions if it falls within their remuneration. But you cannot build a house of 2 billion, 3 billion naira when your remuneration, even in 10 years, is not up to that. Of course, that raises a lot of questions. Where's the money coming from? Okay. Especially if you're involved in receiving and disbursing these funds for military operations. So there's a whole lot that needs to be looked into. I keep talking about the MOs in the military, but even in this case, it goes even beyond the MOs. A lot of money is being released even by the central bank that does not reflect on the lower ranks of the military.
Deborah Bodori, Adams Oshiomhole was a lone voice. Perhaps the majority felt that the times are so sensitive now that there's no need for distractions and all that. And that proposal was shut down as soon as he raised it. Their perception is that, or their position is that, we must concentrate on recovering, taking back our country first before we begin to ask about probe of finances.
For me, the way I look at it is that it's like a wake-up call on the military. Not just the military, even the police, all the people, all the agencies within the security sector. It's a wake-up call. They should strengthen the internal mechanism of auditing in a way that to promote accountability and transparency. It may occur a situation where you have maybe perhaps those in the audit department, they may be junior officers, and they have maybe if you have a major, for instance, who specialize in and they are all manners. All those ones. There are thorough professionals within the military. Thorough professionals. So if you have a major who is a chartered accountant who is put in the audit department, he may be afraid of looking into the record of a major general, because of the gap.
And also,
They should strengthen it in such a way that those that arm of the institution must be independent. They should allow them to do their job in a manner that, at the end of the day, there be no call for probe.
to what extent can a country probe its military expenditure? Security funds are seen as secret on the basis of need to know and all that. Is that not the international best practice? It's not that you don't remove accountability, but are there limits to how you can probe defense spending?
I think there are limits, and there is also there are limits. Yes, because some of the things they do it's like secret.
Covert operations.
Yeah, covert operations and secret in nature. So to start asking questions, how for instance, you have Boko Haram insurgents, and then they want to locate where they are, and they see a local who will probably help them in the process of locating them. They will probably reward them.
That's line of intelligence.
So, I mean, all those ones, how do you quantify that one? Will you call this a misspent money? No. So, there's a limit. But I have advocated, let them have internal mechanism for proper record keeping.
And strengthen them. Okay, let's move to the next issue now. The controversy over the Presidential Council existence and, of course, operations. The media reports are saying that the father of Adeyemi and a friend were picked up yesterday somewhere in Izobomosho in Osun State. Civil rights activists are already raising issues of possible abuse of rights here. They're asking whether our laws allow what you call substituted arrest. If you can't find someone, a suspect, can you arrest a relative in the person's place? What are the provisions in the Administration of Criminal Justice Act that appear to frown at that? Some other persons have said perhaps if the police speaks up, if the security agencies speak up, they will tell us whether indeed the father is involved in any way. If he's involved, they say then there's a probable cause for that arrest. But we'll wait for the security agencies, especially the police, to provide details. We'll be joined by our guest, Sojia Pampa, founder Integrity Organization, to take a look at this controversy, especially how we can strengthen our institutions, impute integrity into it to avert a recurrence of this huge embarrassing development in the future. Let's take a break with this report sampling the opinion of Nigerians out on the streets on that controversy. Do stay with us.
For some of the respondents, the case raises serious concerns about trust in government systems. If allegations of this nature are true, it would not only be embarrassing, but could also weaken public confidence in official institutions and the processes used in vetting government agencies. Some Nigerians describe the situation as a warning sign, stressing the need for tighter checks within the government structures to prevent individuals from allegedly operating under false authority for extended periods. Others, however, maintained that the federal government should not be doubted, insisting the matter reflects a clear case of fraud and impersonation that should be handled strictly by the law, without allowing it to create confusion about legitimate government operations.
2027 election, anything can happen in politics. So they wanted diverted the attention of the presidency instead of fighting insecurity in Nigeria. The attention of all Nigerians now is going directly to this only one agency out of 600 agencies. It's totally politically motivated.
The context of the story is an indication that the story is devoid of veracity, because it's not possible for someone to have an account with CBN, to have office at the federal secretariat, to be part of the national budget. If such thing is possible, then all these institutions are questionable.
But beyond the divided opinions, respondents want authorities to carry out a thorough and transparent investigation, while urging government to prioritize the appointment of credible and competent individuals into sensitive positions where public trust is critical.
They don't know them because the agency is attached with the budget. So how can government just come out within a twinkle of an eye and say that they don't know them?
I call the National Assembly to investigate this matter.
It is important that transparency and accountability should be part of every level of government. So with that, such story cannot come up.
As the case continues in court, attention now shifts not only to the outcome of the trial, but also to possible reforms that may strengthen accountability and rebuild public confidence in government institutions.
Thank you so much for staying with us. The report ended with that task that we must strengthen accountability and build public trust. How do we build public trust? If we align our public institutions to exhibit the highest standards of integrity. And joining us now to provide a pathway Nigeria can achieve this. They say in every bad situation, there are always opportunities. And the opportunity here, I believe, is to use this as a test case and as an opportunity to strengthen our institutions. So Jay Pampa is the founder of the Integrity Organization. He's also the founder and executive director of the Convention on Business Integrity in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Is it all about integrity as far as this matter is concerned?
I think it's about public trust. The infrastructure that is missing today in Nigeria is the infrastructure of trust. And for you to build that infrastructure of trust, of course, the foundation is integrity. I think that it's not well understood. People think you just make laws, you put people there, and then you have integrity or you don't have integrity. No, this is something that you painstakingly, deliberately build into your systems, your processes, and institutions if you really want them to behave a certain way.
Okay, liken this to the situation before us now, this controversy.
Okay, so let's look at it. If you're going to build trust, there are three components you need to have in place. You need a good framework for the trust, and I'll unpack what that means. You need a market for the trust, and you need a constituency for the trust. The framework starts from your laws. And it's not only laws, your operating procedures. You need also your verification systems, because anything that you set up that receives a budget and is not verified will only lead to fraud. We saw that in the fuel subsidy issue and so many other issues. Anything you leave to itself without the system for feedback and also consequence management, all of those things are part of that framework. But you have to have incentives, which means you have to set it up in such a way that anyone who is an office holder will think, do I want this outcome or do I want this outcome? I have to be careful. Once you have nothing that makes you think about the outcomes, which means we have not designed it into our institution, then it's free for all. And finally, those who want things to operate the right way need a constituency. You need enough people who will protect the right order once the right order is in place. But you have a situation now where nobody knows what is really happening. Everything is opaque. I heard your discussion also about funding of the military or probing of the military, and everything seems, it's okay. It's a black box. It is not. It's public funds. They have to be accountable for the public funds. So if you cannot question anything about an institution, then you have given a blank check. And it's this kind of situation that can occur, where you see an agency, nobody knows whether it's supposed to be there, it's not supposed to be there, because what I described as the framework is not there. What is the process through which you establish a presidential agency? Nobody knows. So when one claims that I am a presidential agency, nobody can challenge it. And if they see a letter purportedly signed by someone who is high ranking, how is it verified? It's not clear.
What are the verification framework and processes?
Even a phone call, sir. Even a phone call. I can't imagine that I will go to CBN or transmit a letter to CBN and I say I need a certain budget because I've been appointed, and the letters I'm showing are purportedly signed by someone, and I can't pick up the call and say, you understand? Because there has to be these standard operating procedures. What are the procedures? If they are unclear, then you have opened the door for that kind of thing to occur.
So,
But where do you think we actually dropped the ball here? Because there are so many layers to some of these problems. They have talked about the National Assembly that approved the budget. And don't forget that this budget comes from the executive. So whatever National Assembly is considering is what the executive have presented. Or is it the letters that have gone to some agencies that these alleged person that is called an imposter have had different meetings with these persons? Where do you think the ball was dropped? Is it from the National Assembly, the budget office that are also meant to some of these heads of agencies to also defend their budgets? So who should be held accountable in all of this?
I think all of the above. Because, you see, that's why we have checks and balances. It starts from, okay, so you made the budget. How do you verify the budget heads that are in there? How do things end up in our budget? If we don't have any procedure for it, then I can put anything in there. If I am powerful enough, I can hide something in there. But this is probably warning us that we should go and comb through all the MDAs that receive money. Are we sure this is the only one? You see, so if this opportunity was there for one, there could be 100. There could be more, because there are thousands, literally, who actually take money from the budget. That's the first level. So if it failed at that level of the budget office, the National Assembly. Normally, the National Assembly has its own budget research office. So you should be looking at all of that. At least if the executive failed to catch it, the National Assembly should be able to catch it.
or during
Instead.
oversight.
Pardon?
Or during oversight.
Yes, failing all of that during oversight. But what about when you are sending money out from the central bank? You know, so how do you add, you know, it's like adding a new employee in your organization. That's how ghost employees also come on. If you don't have
many
proper-
cases of ghost employees.
Exactly,
across
because our
Nigeria.
processes do not have integrity built into them. I can't imagine that you just rock up at MTN and you say, I'm a new employee, pay me. How do you get on payroll? There are signatures. People will have to sign off, and they don't hire without budget backing. So they would have already budgeted for that headcount before you can even come and start hiring anyone. And when they are hired, there's a process for putting you on payroll. So there's so many levels of checks that happen.
All right.
What
But
is your
when you
take-
look at the institutions of government and the current arrangements that we have, you talked about checks and balances.
Yes.
How have these been left off in spite of the fact that we have laws? And we also have bodies that are supposed to be supervising these institutions and agencies. Where have these checks and balances been left off in the current arrangement?
I think that's what we're discussing now, because
Yes.
even all laws, at the end of the day, have to be reduced to operating procedures, because it should give rise to how we do things here because of our enabling law. So when you have your operating procedures, who is responsible within that MDA? So, for example, the Civil Service Commission, or who posted, or is it the head of service, who posted civil servants to that agency? And how did you verify that it's an existing or a bona fide agency to which you can second employees? So you can see that even within the executive, there were many opportunities to have caught something that is illegal or not correct. So that is the question, because I know our professionals in the public service, they are very professional. I don't really believe I would like to see the outcome of this case, because it's difficult to conceive that these experienced professional people just allowed all of these loopholes to happen. No, it doesn't happen that way. Something somewhere went seriously wrong in this particular instance. And I'd like to see how the case actually unfolds.
And beyond this.
Yes, because for even a budget provision to be made, for the person to even get an office space within the secretariat, there's so many processes that must fail together for that to happen. So I don't think we have heard the last of this particular instance. There will be more to unpack in the days to come.
But the problem now is that, yes, the presidency say investigation is ongoing, but just like you've alluded, so many times cases are being investigated forever. Do you think this will be one of those cases that will linger till even probably the end of the administration?
Whether there will be full disclosure on the outcome.
Exactly.
Full disclosure of the investigations.
Yeah, I happen to be the co-chair of the Open Government Partnership for Nigeria, co-chairing with the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning. This is an issue we will stay with, because it's very central to the functioning of our institutions. It's very central to everything else that you want to do in reforms. So you want to reform the budget process, for instance. You want to make sure that more money goes towards making an impact in the lives of citizens. But if it's already misallocated, because the whole envelope has, instead of being shared amongst 100, you shared it among 2,000. You have already cheated the citizens on the impact that spending could have on them, because much less is now available. So it now becomes everybody's problem. Now they have made it our problem to ensure now that government is doing the right things with the budgeting, with its processes. So it's not even a case of corruption here. It's a case of public trust. And we have to make sure that the components required to restore that trust, we encourage them to put it in place. But I'm sure the media too will not let go.
This
Yes,
issue has raised one critical, the incident, the scandal has raised one critical issue. Yes. And that critical issue has to do with our budget. You find out in the budget, you find an agency whose responsibility is on health sector or education. You now find a situation where they have provisions for road construction. They have provisions for boreholes, and which is not specified in the functions specified for that question. Does it not raise critical question that our budgetary process is faulty?
Okay, sir. If we look at the IMF code for transparency when it comes to these things, there are at least 3 things that we should be concerned about. Number 1 is the size of the fiscus. That's the whole spending of the government. Is it affordable? Is it sustainable? How much are we depending on borrowing to even finance this thing? So that's the first level before we go very far. How much is Nigeria budgeting? Where is it getting that money financed from? And what are the deficits? Which is how much will our children and our children's children have to carry in the future for our behavior today? That's the first level. The second level is going to be allocative efficiency, which you are talking about. How do you allocate to sectors? How should you the principle of subsidiarity, for instance, are you using the funds at the most efficient place? Have you allocated it? So instead of allocating more roads and everything to a nursing school, should it not be to works, to get works to do that nursing school, because to do the road for the nursing school, because they have the efficient means of actually getting it done? So allocative efficiency is one, but there's also operational efficiency. That operational efficiency is the level of leakage that you get in the end, what we call corruption, what we call wastage of funds or fraud. In the end, how much of it are we tolerating? So if you combine all of that, the huge borrowings and expenditure, The fact that we're not able to allocate it to sectors efficiently, which means it will not be efficiently used. And then in the utilization and implementation, we also lose the opportunity to get the impact. Are you then surprised that citizens are today losing a lot of faith in governance and the government? So I agree with you, sir. It's something that we should be looking
But talking
at.
about the integrity of the budget, I
Yes.
know the government at the moment is operating more than 2 or 3 budgets, and there have been so many extensions. And you see that some of the implementation of these capital components are maybe from last year, and nobody is really monitoring. Does it really bring integrity in the budget?
It is the most clever construct I have ever seen. Because if I have 3 budgets, if I say, okay, all I have available for this thing is 4 billion, but I budgeted a year ago, 2 years ago, 4 billion, then 4 billion and 4 billion. I say there's no money for anything else. I can actually take 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12 billion and give to one agency. You can see us creating the opportunities that shouldn't be there. Therefore, I ask again, have we agreed the operating procedure? What is the procedure for a budget? Who is responsible? Should there not be standard things that at the end of the year, this is how we close the budget for the year? And that's it. It happens because there are people whose jobs it is. And if they don't do it, there are consequences. And somebody is verifying. Do you understand what I'm saying? If we don't have all of those components in place, it's not possible for you to get
very
integrity.
Important. Would
Yes.
you just come in with your question?
Because we really don't have much time to look at this. Okay, I wanted to ask, what do you make of Almajiris, in the north, being allocated
Almajiri Commission.
The Almajiri Commission being allocated funds for the construction of a road in Ogun State? What's the relationship? And then secondly, how do we now begin at this stage to strengthen our institutions to carry out the work that they ought to do, particularly these checks and balances, so that Nigerians can get the full benefit of governance?
One of the components I talked about earlier is a constituency for doing the right thing. Those who want to do the wrong thing, they meet during the night. Many of them, and they are as thick as thieves. Those who want to do the wrong things. But unfortunately, those who want public order, good order, they behave like an island. Each one of them just pontificates on TV
Minds
or
his
radio
business.
and move on. Nothing can change that way. We need a constituency, the media, civil society, all those who really, truly want the country to work properly. They need to sit down and conference over these things because they are fundamental issues that determine how much trust and reliability we can have in our own government. And we don't want people to lose hope, because if they lose hope, then even the democratic process will die.
It's how much of hopes that people have lost, whether there's still all the trust we still have, whether it's up to the safety level to not to cause chaos. That's the reality before us. And sometimes we wonder whether those in government take a look at that integrity and trust level within government that keeps going down by the day. But you raised one significant point here, the need for standard operating procedure. And for us to review it either twice a year or once a year, not just to set it up, put them in place, but constant review, monitoring and evaluation. Now, this is an opportunity to review the processes of new appointments. You talked about ghost workers that are almost in every public office as we speak. Perhaps we should start from there at that level. What's the process or processes for admitting a new employee into any public organization? What are the processes for admitting a new establishment to a new chief executive into, and have this reviewed periodically?
Yes, and verified. How do I release money from treasury to a new entity without first verifying that everything checks before I release it? So the kinds of figures that are being called make me dizzy. which is why I find it very difficult to believe that all these professionals all got it wrong in this particular case.
Something there somewhere.
Something there somewhere.
Yes, and you raised
let's
another
wait until
point.
we see it.
Whether there are some interests within the system, that's my concern. Those interests within the system that may have facilitated this, because I'm struggling to believe that one man can deceive all the institutions of government. I'm yet to come to terms with that realm, except he becomes the 10th wonder of the world. And I hope we can get at those interests with these investigations going on. Whether we have that integrity and be brave enough to point them out and say, yes, perhaps there are some people within that facilitated all this. But beyond all this, we have to thank you so much for joining us today. And it's not yet over without bringing you into the mix. We go to our feedback session now. Would you take us through the mails sent to us?
The first one is from Emekamba from Abuja here. He says, President Tinubu has ordered a comprehensive investigation into the massive scandal involving his chief of staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, Prince Adeyemi Matthew, an alleged fake agency called Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, and how it secured the 1.3 billion naira budget allocation in the 2026 Appropriation Act. Good moves from Mr. President, but this raises some pertinent questions. Who will investigate who? Unless an independent external body probes this embarrassing scandal, we already know the report even before the commencement of the probe. I make bold to submit that no government of this country has condoned illegality, corrupt practices, and incompetence like this present one. Our next one is from Aniefio Kuntia from Songwater, Ogun State. He says, the so-called fake agency, the presidency and executive have a lot of questions to answer Nigerians as to how the agency they claim to be fake was given allocation in the national budget as office and is linked to the president's chief of staff. This should not be a case of snakes swallowing money during former President Buhari. Nigerians need independent investors, and this matter should not be swept under the carpet. Imagine 8.8 trillion naira also not well reported under this administration, according to IMF. Is this what Emiloko, my turn, is all about? Corruption and the FG is like 5 and 6. Quite unfortunate.
What do they mean by 5 and 6? That's two central defenders in the football game.
They're very close.
Yeah, they have to form that partnership to ward off a dangerous striker. So when you say someone is 5 and 6, it means they're in partnership. But perhaps those in government will say, no, we disagree with your thoughts on this. We have proven cases where we have fought corruption, where persons have been sacked and all that because of corruption, and they may point at achievements the anti-corruption agencies have been recording to say, no, we disagree with you. But
it's just that so many also have been swept under the carpet. Investigations started as far back, some even as far back as the Obasanjo administration, and up to date, there's no closure.
Well, is there a carpet as like the one we have before us?
No, the carpet is bulgy.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We have to say thank you to our guest, Ojia Pampa, founder, Integrity Organization, and to my colleagues for also contributing to the discourse today. My name is Amechi Anapwe. Have a good time.